Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Today we're going to talk about sorcery. You know, I wasn't 100% satisfied with how I was approaching magic users in Basic or Lamentations or whatever, because I'm doing standard stuff. But my two guiding principles are I want the game to be simple, but I want to have some extra stuff, extra goodies, because we're older, don't have a lot of time to game, so we might as well get the most bang for our buck. I also kind of like the idea of sorcery. The idea that you know, you can cast based on your charisma, have some extra goodies or whatever, but I don't want to have a bunch of different kind of wizards. I'd rather have just one kind of wizard. So let's try to decide, well, let's try to kind of put it all into one thing. So I'm going to use Fred the Wizard. He's going to be my example guy. Fred the Wizard is 5th level, so he's got a standard spell list of 3 first level spells, 2 second level spells, 1 third level spell. And use the spell point system I talked about in the past. You know, Matt Finch, one of the creators of Swords and Wizardry, talked about this on a forum, where spells are worth their level in points. So Fred's got 10 spell points, and the rules are, you know, you can't cast a higher level spell than you can cast normally. So Fred can't cast 4th level spells normally. You can't cast more than your amount of points in a day. So Fred's got 10 spell points. That's all he can cast normally. And you can't cast more spells in a day than you normally could. So Fred can cast 6 spells a day. Fred wants to use all magic missiles. You know, he'd spend 6 points, but he just blew 6 spells, so he's done normally. We'll get to that. So say Fred wants to use a standard spell list. Doesn't cost him anything. Everything's great, and he gets to memorize minor magics based on the spells he's memorized, or cast minor magics. I talked about that. It's a system I've used for a long time. So you know, he memorized Fireball. He can light things on fire. You know, this is just based on player creativity and GM discretion. That's it. If he wants to memorize spells based on spell points rather than the spell list, same thing. Great. Can you cast minor magics, etc. Doesn't have to memorize those. Just, you know, as far as those spell slots are concerned, can memorize a bunch of second level spells. I don't care. If he wants to free cast based on the standard spell slots or the spell points, that's fine. This is free, no chance of failure. But of course, you don't get to cast those nifty minor magics because you don't have anything memorized. Now, say Fred wants to live on the wild side. He wants to free cast other spells he has memorized. So he wants to have his cake and eat it too. He's got Fireball memorized, so he's been lighting things on fire all day. But now he wants to cast Lightning Bolt, because that would be much more advantageous in this situation. I'll give him a shot. Okay? What he's got to do here is he's got to roll under his intelligence on 3d6. And he also has to add the spell level to this roll. So in this example, Fred's going to roll 3d6, add 3 to it, because he's trying to cast a 3rd level spell. If he fails this roll, if he fails to roll underneath his intelligence on that roll, not only is that Lightning Bolt going to cost him 3 spell points, but it's also going to cost him 3 points of Constitution temporarily, and he's only going to gain Constitution back 1 point a day. All right, and also after all that, the spell still has a 1 in 6 chance of failure. So you can try it, but it's risky. Big risk, big reward. And if Fred has other spell points besides those 3 that he wanted to spend, I'll be nice and let him apply those and subtract those from that roll. So say he's got 4 more points left. Go ahead, subtract those 4 points, or however many you want to do from that roll in order to avoid burning your Constitution. Now say Fred really wants to be daring. He's going to try to cast a spell of a higher level than he normally can. So he's going to try to cast a 4th level spell. He's still got spell points left. Obviously can't memorize this spell. He's just going to try to cast this spell. So he's got to roll under his intelligence on 3d6. But he's got to roll another d6 for every level higher than he normally could cast. So if he was trying to cast a 5th level spell, he'd have to roll 5d6. In this example, he's only going to roll 4d6. He's got to roll under his intelligence on 46 plus the spell level. So he's got to add 4 to that roll. So it's 46 plus 4. Roll under your intelligence. If he fails that roll, he's got to take that spell level in Constitution points. So he would lose 4 Constitution points as well as burning 4 spell points. And once again, if he's got some spell points left over he wants to apply to that, you know, subtract from that roll, go ahead, I'll be nice. Even so, that spell, because it's higher than he can normally cast, it has a 2 in 6 chance of failure per level higher than he can normally cast. So a 4th level spell in this example for Fred would have a 2 in 6 chance of failing, even after all that. If he tried to cast a 5th level spell, it would have a 4 in 6 chance of failing. And if he tried to cast a 6th level spell, well, it would just fail. 6 and 6 is fail. Okay, but he can try. I don't think that's you know, too unbalanced or too unfair. Now we get to straight up sorcery. Sorcery! We're going to talk about charisma now. So Fred's going to try to cast over the amount of spells he can normally cast in a day. So spells at this point are going to cost their level in Constitution points, flat right out of the bat. So say Fred wants to cast a web. It's going to cost him 2 Constitution points. He's got to roll under his Charisma on 3d6, and he's going to add the spell level to that roll. So he's got to roll 3d6, add 2 to that because it's a second level spell. He's got to roll under his Charisma, or spells are going to cost twice their level in Constitution. So if Fred fails that roll, it's going to cost him 5 points, or 4 points rather. Yeah, 2 times 2 is 4 of Constitution to cast that web spell. And it's got a 1 in 6 chance of failure regardless of the Charisma check outcome. However, say Fred has blown 6 magic missiles for that day, you know, so he's spent 6 points. He's got 4 points left. I'll be nice and let Fred subtract as many of those spell points he has left from that roll. So he wants to do that 3d6, you know, plus 2 roll. He can subtract 4 from that roll too, to try to avoid that extra Constitution hit. And anytime you lose Constitution, you know, 1 per day. That's all you get. Now say the worst case example. Fred's really crazy. He's going to cast over the amount of spells he can normally cast a day. So he's doing the sorcery thing, and he's going to try to cast a spell of a higher level that can be memorized. So he's blown all his spells for the day, but he's going to try to cast a 4th level spell anyway. All right, spells are going to cost their level in con points once again. He's got to roll under his Charisma on 3d6, plus add another d6 for every level over he can only cast. So in this example, he's going to have to roll 4d6, add 4 to that roll, try to roll under his Charisma. It's already going to cost him 4 points of con, or 2 points of con? 4 points of con, yeah, because it's a 4th level spell. If he fails that Charisma roll, then it's going to cost him 8. It's going to cost him double Constitution, just to try to cast that 4th level spell. Pretty brutal, but it can be done. And even after that roll, it's going to have a 2 in 6 chance of failure, you know, per level higher than you can only cast. So in this example, it's just a 4th level spell. So it's going to have a 4 in 6 or 2 in 6 chance of failure, even after all that. So say he fails his Charisma check, costs him 8 points of con, it still has a 2 in 6 chance of failure. But it's a chance. Then it'll work. So I like that kind of a shtick. Dinner's ready. And the only other thing I have is what I like is the whole idea that something like magic items like wands and staves and talismans and whatever. I like the idea that maybe this would instead of having the usual kind of magic items, you think of maybe these things would be something that would make those chances better. Maybe it would give you more spell points. Maybe it would give you less of a chance of having your con blown. Maybe, you know, better chances of you know, whatever. So I like having little magic items that might do something like that. That feels a little bit more kind of almost like, you know, storybookish. And then I really like the whole Harry Potter shtick. Like those books. Of maybe a magic wand, what it does is just makes your spells stronger. So maybe you get a magic wand, instead of having, you know, it's got a wand of fireballs or whatever, maybe it just makes all your spells better. So maybe your magic missiles do d8 damage. You know, maybe when you use it, maybe your sleep spells are stronger, you know. Maybe, you know, that sort of thing. You can charm more people. I like that kind of thing. So that's my take on the sorcery. Now, I'm liking that better. So wizards can have more goodies, but it's dangerous. And the game's kind of dangerous, so what the heck.